Before I start in talking about what foods alkalize you and like how to know about all that stuff, I want to say the first way to get alkaline is to do, like, if you don't have time to make green juice and you're traveling and you don't have time to do salads and stuff, using some kind of grass powder. Now, you guys who know me know one of my favorite green powders is Vitamineral Greens, and I've been with these guys since I got into raw foods 20 years ago, so they've been with me the whole time. Vegan, and they call it veganic gardening, so they don't even use manure or anything on their when they're growing, because there's a lot of chances for bacteria getting your food when people are growing even their organic vegan produce with animal manure. So these guys are totally veganic gardening, and green powders will get you alkaline because grass powders give you energy. That's like an instant way to get energy because you're getting alkaline. So what is alkalinity, and like how does it work, and how do we do it? And you know, there's a lot of mystery sometimes around acid and alkaline. So what acid-forming foods are all animal products, all grains. Nuts and seeds can be a little acidic. They're kind of more in the middle. And then what is on the alkaline, well, and then, you know, dairy products as an animal product, obviously. Eggs, alcohol, you know, all the stuff we love. All the stuff, the standard American diet is all acidic. So that's part of the reason people are cranky, 2 people are tired, 3 people get the afternoon slump, 4 they're getting disease, 5 they're just not having a good life, they're not full of joy, just life seems hard. All of those things can be solved by those 5 things or more with getting alkaline. Like, if we just knew it was that easy. When I found raw foods 20 years ago, I got alkaline and my life completely flipped upside down as far as my joy meter. I was happy all the time. That's why my company's, can you guys see my shirt? It's backwards, but it says bringing pure joy and gourmet bliss to the planet. Because that's what I'm doing, because like I'm showing people that if you get alkaline, everything gets better. Seriously. Like, who knew that all you need to do is do a green juice fast or just stop eating acid foods for a few days and you're like, wow, life is actually pretty awesome. So the way that you can measure, if you're wondering, like, am I alkaline? I wonder if I'm alkaline. The way you can measure it is with pH strips. And these ones are actually not the right ones. These are for checking your sprouts, which I don't even really know how that works. They're out in with my sprouting kit. But anyway, what you do is you buy pH strips, go on Amazon and just put in pH strips. It should go from 0 to 7 on the pH scale that you're getting, or maybe 0 to 8. And you don't want to be below 6. Like 7 is ideal for being alkaline. And the reason we need to be alkaline is because our blood needs to stay alkaline. And I talked about this last week. If our blood's not alkaline, then it robs minerals from the bones because minerals are alkalizing. So how do we get more alkaline? Well, the first thing you probably guys know I'm going to tell you. Oh, actually, backtrack one step. Sorry, I'm so excited. To test your pH, you just want to pee on the strip, or you can do a saliva test where you just ball up a bunch of spit and stick the strip into your mouth and just measure your pH. I suggest measuring it more than once a day because in the morning you're going to be more acidic. You've been detoxing for 8 or more hours. And after you've eaten food, you're going to be more acidic. So you want to do it after, like, on an empty stomach. Well, if you're peeing, it doesn't matter as much, but you want to do it like 2 or 3 times in the day just to kind of average it out. So if you're 6 in the morning and 6.5 in the afternoon and then maybe a little bit lower at night, you're probably an average of 6-ish. So just to kind of check out where your alkalinity is at. The brighter blue the strip, the better. But I do want to warn you when you're testing your pH, if you drink coffee or something acidic and then test it, you might get a false reading, which means the strip turns bright blue, which is really alkaline. And you're like, I'm alkaline, I don't need to worry. What happens is when we eat really acidic foods, if we have enough alkalinity in our body, all the alkaline minerals will flood to the mouth to kind of fix the pH, which I feel like our bodies are just so miraculous. They're so smart if we let them be. Like, our bodies know what to do if we just get out of the way. So if you do eat something like lemon or something really acidic, lemon's actually alkalizing, but when it's in your mouth, it can be more acidic. You test the pH and it's really blue. It just means that you're not alkaline, but all the alkaline minerals went to your mouth. So that's why I think it's good to test it with your urine versus your mouth and test it a few times a day. So what are some ways that we can get alkaline? So I just want to talk about some things about raw foods and ways to get alkaline. So those of you guys who've heard me talk before know that leafy greens are one of the best ways to get alkaline. But sometimes we just get tired of eating salads, right? Anybody with me there? Like, okay, I eat salads all the time and I love them. but there's got to be more to life than eating salads. So what are some other ways that we can get more alkaline? Like, what are some things we can do? Well, one thing is we can put those leafy greens, which in the form of things like spinach and kale and arugula and anything dark and leafy. Actually, the darker the green, the more mineral rich it is, and possibly the more alkalizing. Like wheatgrass obviously is super alkalizing. So you could take wheatgrass juice and throw it in a smoothie or something like that if you wanted, or just drink a shot. I recommend just drinking it down. But what you can do is take a lot of these leafy greens and throw them in the blender and blend them into either a smoothie in the morning. And some people don't do so well with fruit, especially if you're working with blood sugar levels, or if you didn't get enough sleep. I don't recommend starting your day with a sweet smoothie, because when you're sleep deprived, your sugar imbalances can be off more easily. And you guys probably notice you get a little more ghrelin in your body, you get hungrier, you want to eat more. So I recommend doing like a smoothie that Caitlin and I love to do, which is use zucchini as your base in your smoothie versus like blueberries or versus some other sweet fruit, like if you're using banana or something. Switch it out for zucchini. Then you could throw in maybe a quarter a cup or a half a cup of the frozen berries like raspberries or blueberries, and then you can sweeten it with a little bit of stevia and a couple drops of like one of our essences, like banana essence or blueberry essence, and then it'll taste sweet and it'll taste like you're eating a fruit smoothie, but you're getting like put in a little bit of vitamin green, or put in a big handful of parsley or spinach, or cilantro even is really good in morning smoothies. So those are great ways to start your day on an alkaline level. And people ask me a lot, like, hey, do you use protein powders, like vegan protein powders? And I did, but I don't anymore. Now I just use hemp seeds, because I feel like hemp seeds have the perfect amino acid chain of the omega-6, 3s, and 9s. And I need to get more 3s in my diet, like anybody does if you're a vegan. You need to make sure you're getting, some of these omega-3s, and that's in hemp seeds. So instead of buying those protein powders, which can be bloating and make you feel gassy, and there's so many ingredients in there, just throw a couple scoops of hemp seeds in. And that's a perfect way to kind of get alkaline in the morning. Of course, my favorite way to get alkaline is starting my day with a green juice. I would say 5 out of 7 days I probably start my day with a green juice. And these days my favorite, as always, is a base of celery, cucumber, lemon, and some kind of leafy green. Now the leafy green in your green juice, so this is something I figured out over the years, which is when you don't put in those leafy greens, so like just say I'm doing a celery juice or just a cucumber juice, like they taste amazing, and yes, they're going to be alkalizing and they're definitely going to be cleansing, but the dark leafy greens are the joy factor. When I would skip the kale or skip the cilantro or skip the parsley in my green juice, I'm like, yeah, that was good, but I don't feel it. And when I would put the kale in, or like any of the dark leafy greens, I suddenly, like, that's when I'm like, I want to call all my friends and tell them I love them. It's like, have you guys had that experience when you're doing green juice? Like, you're just drinking your green juice, mind your business, and suddenly you're like, I love everybody. There's something about getting alkaline that I just feel is the magic formula in life. There's just something about it, and I can say that after 20 years, it hasn't changed. The green juice still gives me that major joy factor that nothing else does. Like, I can drink coffee from time to time, and I do love coffee if it's like mold-free, bulletproof, whatever, good, healthy coffee. And I do get a different kind of energy from that, but there's no match to what I get when I do an alkaline drink. And my favorite, like I said, is that green juice. But my runner-ups are things like green smoothies, and a green soup, which I'm going to show you today, which is usually like has avocado or hemp seeds or something as its fat in there. And then that's going to also get those alkaline minerals. And so one thing I'm learning, and I mentioned to you guys a few weeks ago about something called sulforaphane. Well, there's a precursor to sulforaphane called myracinase. What these things are is they stretch. You guys know about telomeres or telomeres? Those are what they measure when they measure like mice and rats for the aging. So the longer our telomeres, the more anti-aging, the longer we're going to live, but also the more youthful we are. So things like sulforaphane, which occur naturally in things like kale, broccoli sprouts, like in crazy amounts, broccoli leaves, broccoli, all the sulforaphane, it's funny because it's called sulforaphane, the sulfurous vegetables like cabbage, cauliflower to a degree, broccoli leaves, kale, any version of kale, collards. I have some collards in my fridge right now. So what happens when we blend them, and I learned this, which is so cool, is that when you blend it or cut it before you cook it, like if you are going to cook something like that, it releases the myrasinase, which is the precursor to sulforaphane, actually starts to activate. It takes about 40 minutes. So if you were to blend it or chop it, you want to let it sit for 40 minutes before you cook it. And what happens is, normally if you just chopped up kale and cooked it, the myrasinase would not activate, but because, or the sulforaphane, but because you've chopped it 40 minutes, something magical happens and it activates. So that's why I like blending my stuff, because it releases that myrasinase, which is part of the sulforaphane. I hope I'm not losing you guys, but anyway, whatever the words are, no matter what, if you remember sulforaphane, just remember that when you blend leafy greens, because we always used to wonder, like, is blending in our Vitamix bad? Like, should we just be chewing our food? Well, the answer I've found out through all of this science I've been studying, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she's like a science geek, and she's a PhD, and what I'm learning is that blending is the key. Blending and chopping are the key to releasing these things that we just can't do enough with our teeth. It's just, we can't chew long enough to really start to release those. So the blender is actually a good thing, which I'm so excited about, because that's what I do. I do a lot of blending with what I do. So I'm just excited to share this with you guys today, that blending's good. So you're off the hook for wondering if, like, should I be eating my kale leaf whole and chomping through it? No, because you're probably not, not that you shouldn't eat a kale salad that's marinated from time to time, but just trying to eat whole kale or whole spinach is not really that digestible. And a lot of us know when we eat a whole salad, a lot of times we see it coming back out in the toilet, the undigested fiber. So by blending, you're really going to give your digestive system such a break, because it really is true that you're pre-digesting it. And now we know through science that what that means is that when you blend it, it releases those enzymes that it would not have released otherwise. So it's super cool science. It's a super cool fact. So that's one way to get, many ways to get alkaline. And lemon water in the morning, so people think, okay, lemon and lime juice is sour to the taste, so it must be acidic, but that's not true. It's an acid fruit, but it's actually, if it's a ripe lemon, and right now if you live in Arizona, California, West Coast, maybe other parts of the country, citrus is in season. Like, this is the growing season right now. So get somebody's tree ripened fruit, because when the fruit is tree ripened, it's so much more alkaline. And I want to say that about all fruits that you guys are eating. Make sure they're tree ripened, because when a fruit is not tree ripened, it's probably acidic if it's a bit like a tomato that's been picked green. So that's another, reason to grow your own gardens, grow your own vegetables. Even if you just do it in your backyard in a small little, just do a raised bed and start small. But when you grow your own, you can actually wait for them to ripen. And if it gets a bug bite, who cares? Just dig the bug bite out and eat it really ripe. So right now my friend Jeanette is actually giving me a bag of lemons, and Kathy gave me a bag of lemons last week. So we have like the freshest, ripest lemon juice, and we know it's alkalizing. So a great way to get, I love seeing all the hearts going across the screen. A great way to get alkaline is to do lemon water in the morning, and I like to do that every morning. In the cold, so for those of you guys who are still living somewhere cold, I know it's been snowing in New York, do warm lemon water, or even almost like hot, like a tea, and put like a teaspoon of lemon juice in there. Like, I like to do a quart size in the morning. I fill this up with water, put a little lemon in, and make sure I get that in the first hour that I'm awake. Yes, you will be peeing a lot, but what you're doing is you're alkalizing your body, you're getting minerals in there through the lemon, getting vitamins, and you're also flushing your liver and your kidneys, but that's why you're peeing a lot. So that's a good thing. I don't drink all day long. I usually hydrate in the morning, and then maybe I'll hydrate before bed, because I stop eating about 3 or 4 hours before I go to sleep. So I can hydrate right before I fall asleep as well, a little bit, because you don't want to be up in the middle of the night. But those are just some tricks to get your body flushing and working. And I know I've talked about water already. But the other way that you can put these foods into your diet, so we talked about smoothies, we talked about green juice, we talked about soups, blended soups, and I'm going to show you one of those today. For those of you guys who just joined me, stay to the end, because I'm going to show you how to do a blended, half raw, half cooked, or more raw than cooked, kale soup that I just kind of learned, and it's like with fried arugula on top, fried arugula and garlic. It's just fried in a little coconut oil, but it's like off the charts delicious. So you can do stuff like that, especially now that spring's coming, we're getting ready to start cleansing, and we want our bodies to be slimmer and trimmer as we start to cut down on the amount of clothing that we're wearing. So the other thing you can do, and I've talked about this before, but you don't feel like you have to eat all raw or all, green foods, but just try and get those into every meal that you're eating. So even sauteed greens are going to be alkaline. Some people think that when you cook your food, it's no longer alkaline. But the one thing that does stay mostly intact when you cook your food, yes, the enzymes die, so you don't want to eat all cooked food because you need those enzymes for your life force. The pH doesn't really change much when you cook it, and the alkalinity of the minerals, so minerals don't die. Vitamins die pretty quickly, like vitamin E, like if you cook even coconut oil, like you're going to kill your vitamin E in that if you're cooking it all the time. But the minerals in the greens are going to stay intact, and for some people it's easier to cook their greens down because it breaks down the fiber a little bit more, so you could do some cooked greens and then blend it in with some of the raw, and then it kind of warms the soup up or whatever you're doing. Even a smoothie, you can do like a warm smoothie in the morning because sometimes it's too cold in the morning to drink like ice cold smoothies, and I've made that mistake a few times, and then I'm like wearing a blanket around the house. So just pay attention to some of that stuff. But I do want to say that by eating mostly raw diet or a very high raw diet, you're going to reverse the aging process. You're going to stay more energized and energetic because you're accessing all of those enzymes that are coming in through your body, through the food. You're getting a lot of amazing nutritious fiber. But just, kind of match that with some of the cooked foods. Like when you look at your plate, you want to put like 3/4 of it should be like leafy greens and, some sprouts and things like that. And then maybe some steamed veggies or things like that for your cooked part, or some of these cooked soups that you're doing. But you always want to balance it out, maybe even with some raw sprouts on top, because even just getting a little bit of enzymes every time you eat is going to help. So save your oils for the end, like after you cook. Don't put them in the skillet and like really cook those up a lot, especially olive oil. People think that olive oil is okay to cook with. The only oil I cook with is coconut oil, and in really like small, like a half a teaspoon moderation. And then if I want more oil at the end, I'll add it over after I've cooked it. So let's see, what else do I want to say about alkaline? So for those of you guys who've just joined, I'm talking about number 7 on the 10 ways to become superhuman is getting more alkaline. And it's not the 7th way, because I feel like getting alkaline should be at the top of the charts, but there was just so many things to cover. So if you guys are curious, you can always go to my YouTube channel later and check out the first 6 ones that I've done. I do it every Friday, so I'll be doing number 8 next week. What else do I want to say? So enzymes equals life, and when your enzyme banks are used up by eating the standard American diet or the standard Australian diet or just the SAD diet, what happens is your life force starts to deplete. And that's when people start to get sick. So you notice when kids are young, they have all this energy, they run around, they're plump, like plump skin, beautiful looking, and then the older they get more and more depleted because they're eating so much cooked food that those little enzyme banks, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to really help us stay fresh and alive looking. So getting those enzymes in your food, and if you don't eat them in your food, like if you're eating cooked meals, then make sure you're taking the digestive enzymes, which have like raw, concentrated sprout enzymes in there. So you are going to get some of that raw food in there. And I find that taking digestive enzymes, like if I've overeaten a little bit or I'm just sluggish after a meal, they perk me up. Within like 10 minutes, I'm like raring to go again. So they really are energizing. I can't say enough good stuff about digestive enzymes.